Right. So as I said, I'm currently the co-founder CEO of Complinity, which is India's leading compliance software. And if anyone is interested in a demo of Complinity, if you could just indicate your preference here, so that my team then can reach out to you offline. It covers all the laws and all the compliances that are applicable to your company. 2,000 plus laws and 25,000 plus compliances are covered, and more than 1,000 plus companies are using the tool. So we are amongst the top 3 compliance softwares, if I may say so, in the country, and having 13 modules, all governance, risk, and compliance. All right. So while people are filling that, Chandan and Sneha, we've got 30 minutes max, and we've got 100 plus questions. Thanks to the audience and the engagement, and I think the topic, and I think the way you all presented, it has ignited a lot of fire, and then there are a lot of questions. So I'll be doing a rapid fire, Chandan and Sneha. Anyone can answer whichever you feel comfortable, and if you feel that certain questions you do not have a ready answer, maybe we can park those questions and also address them in an appropriate way, or maybe share some way with the audience. So I'll be doing a very, very fast rapid fire. If you could also answer in the rapid fire format, just 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Let's see how many questions we can cover. Okay, so here you go. I'll go top to down in no particular sequence, in a chronological order from in Q&A. So before Gaurav asked, if before 31st March 23, entity registered office shifted from one state to another and SIN has been changed accordingly, and based on the FAQ, we need to deactivate the account and old SIN and do re-registration with the new SIN. But how will we get access of earlier filed FLAs? Any solution?
Okay. So I would like to answer this. So basically, there is no timeline provided when you have to inform the RBI about shifting to your registered office. Basically, since it's a shifting of registered office, the address is being changed, you have to deactivate and you have to register as a new user. And you don't have to worry about how the information gets passed, because RBI, when you'll be providing them the information about your old SIN and the name as well as the user ID, when they'll be deactivating, they'll take that into picture, and when you'll be applying it, they will link that company. And if you see at the first section only, it asks whether the company name has been changed, yes or no. So when you write yes, then you'll put the new name, and then that's how RBI will link your old registration with the new registration.
Okay. Do we need to report remittances received from NRO accounts?
Okay. So NRO accounts are basically domestic accounts only. So there are 2 accounts, NRE and NRO accounts. So NRO accounts are ordinary accounts, non-resident ordinary accounts, in which the bank does not allow you to repatriate your amount outside India. So since the shares are on non-repatriable basis, the same are not to be considered while filing FLA.
In case of partly paid up AIF units, do we need to report all the drawdowns or only the first drawdown when the units were allotted in the first place?
Though RBI has not clarified this thing, but if you will see for the FLA, FDI also, we only report the amount which has been received. We do not mention about the share application money or the partly paid up shares which will be received later on. So as per our understanding, in AI also you have to mention about money which has been received and not which will be received in future.
All right. Whether branch details can be reported separately in FLA return?
So branches are also required to file FLA returns. So you can insert your details, but since branch are not required to obtain the FDI amounts, so their details will be mentioned in the ODI details, because they can invest outside India. But as per the RBI regulation, branches does not receive the FDI amounts.
Okay, question to Chandan. In the reserve and surplus section, do we include P&L profit and loss amount, or we mention profit and loss in the next row after deducting it from the reserve and surplus?
So the reserve and surplus will cover the P&L also. Out of that, what is the P&L balance is to be mentioned separately, but it will cover P&L balance also, total reserves.
Understand. Is an individual required to file FLA holding foreign securities?
No. Only companies.
It is the responsibility of the company. Yeah.
Basically, individuals are required to file APR.
Right. The holding company is FDI. It has floated subsidiary. Hence, there is a downstream investment, but no fresh FDI received in the holding company or subsidiary company. Holding company is filing FLA return. Is that fine?
Okay, so holding companies, when they invest into another subsidiary, that is a downstream investment, which is an indirect foreign investment. In a FLA, we only have to mention about the foreign direct investment. So the holding company has to report the FLA, whereas the subsidiary, Indian company, which has not received the direct foreign investment from outside India, is not required to file their FLA returns.
Mr. Funny asks, process of filing revised returns, even though in the email received from RBI says can be filed, but on the portal,
Welcome to Complinity Technologies. Complinity is India's leading governance, risk and compliance software helping companies to manage their compliance, contracts, litigation, legal updates, inter-financial controls and more. Complinity is a one-stop shop for all GRC needs. With our proprietary 12 GRC modules and real-time legal updates on 2,000 plus laws and 24,000 plus compliances, all in an integrated platform that is easy to use with automated alerts and risk management capabilities, is why compliance managers, general counsels and chief financial officers choose Complinity every time. Join the most innovative and prestigious brands that use Complinity. Automating your compliance management, request a demo at complinity.com.
A company, a company which is a private company receives an FDI. Now, certain secondary transfers take place from a resident to a non-resident, and FCTRS, etc., is filed. In that case, the non-resident shareholding, will it also cover? Will it be covered under the FLA return? The now non-resident shareholding?
Yes, yes. So basically, Sumit, we have to first understand, like I explained, why we have to file the FLA return. They want to know the balance of payment as on 31st March. So before 31st March, any transaction has happened. For example, if there was a resident and non-resident, and then from non-resident, it again got transferred to resident. But as on 31st March, the entire shareholding is with the residents only. Then we don't have to file FLA. But as on 31st March, if there is even a single NRI holding one share, then FLA gets applicable.
No, my question also to supplement my question. So the non-resident acquired the shares in through secondary route, through transfer of shares. So even in an unlisted private company, will this be considered as an FDI, or will it be or considered as a portfolio investment, even if it's unlisted?
Even if it's unlisted, if he's holding the share, then it's a shareholder and it has to be considered as an FDI only. And in section 3 only, we have to mention his shares in the equity share capital. If he's holding the equity share.
With FCTRS comes under the FDI scheme only. So if we have filed FCTRS and somebody acquired, it will come under the FDI.
But if the people are acquiring on the stock exchange less than 10% of a listed company, then it will be considered as a portfolio investment. Chandan, what is that?
Correct. Yes. Right.
But if it's an unlisted company, then it will the similar, because there is also in a secondary transfer, there's also secondary transfer. But in an unlisted company, you are saying it will be a foreign direct investment.
Yeah, because unlisted companies cannot have through portfolio scheme.
Right.
They can only have through FD scheme.
Understand. Okay. So Renu asked, if shares are allotted to NRI on repatriable basis, then do we need to file FLA even if the percentage is very less, say less than 1%?
Yes, yes. Even if it is less than 1%, you have to file the FLA return.
I mean, technically, even if it's one share, you have to file that.
Right.
Anil asked, if the company has filed FCGPR or shares allotted, said shares were transferred to another non-resident, whether any filing? I think we just answered that, right? So if shares were transferred to non-resident, that's what my question also was, Anil. I think the FLA return will be important, mandatory. Section 2, part 3 regarding P&L account. So I think question is not clear. We'll move on. Vivek Ayyar asked, penal provision are applicable from which financial year, as we have outstanding FLAs for previous years as well? That's a good question. The LSF, late submission fee.
So this LSF came into picture with effect from September 30, 2022. RBI came up with a circular wherein these LSF provisions were made applicable on FLAs and other compliances also, other filings. So September 30, 2022 onwards, if there are any filings, LSF will be applicable. For previous filings, I think compounding provision shall become applicable.
Okay. No, but the question is, Chandan, that if it's a previous year filing, let's say 2019, 2018, prior to 2022, will the LSF be applicable, or will only compounding will have to be done?
So it's not very clear, but as per our understanding, only with respect to FLA filings arising or becoming due after September 30, 2022, LSF will be applicable. Earlier, in the compounding provisions, there was a requirement of making the delays compounded, but RBI never came up asking for getting these delays compounded. But again, this is RBI's discretion. One may, if someone files a delay, if doesn't get any email with respect to LSF, then the compounding provisions will become applicable.
Understand. I see a question from Manvi Gulati. I think Manvi Gulati is the eMinds alumni. Manvi, if you're the same Manvi, just raise your hands. It'll be good to see you after a long time. So Manvi asked, hi, are there any fees or penalty charged if RBI rejects the FLA form after 15 July, although the company has filed it before the due date?
So basically, in our experience, we have never seen RBI rejecting the form. It might come up with query which they can mail out to the contact person, but they do not reject the form.
Understand. It's a long question by an anonymous attendee. If in the financial year 21-22, one of the investors was non-resident, and in the FY 22-23, he became resident, do we still need to file the FLA in 22-23?
Okay, so we have to see the status of the shares. If the shares are on non-repatriable basis, then it is a domestic investment. We do not have to file FLA. But if the shares are on repatriable basis, then it's a foreign investment. We have to file the FLA return. So majorly, apart from the identity of the person, whether NR or R, we also have to see the status of the shares.
Repatriability of shares, yeah.
Okay, there's even a second part to the question, but that's seeming quite complicated, quite specific to the case, US, UK, etc. So I think my request to the anonymous attendee is that you can reach out to Chandan, Sneha, Preeti from eMinds Legal. If you need any opinion or anything, they'll be happy to help you. Next one, how to change email ID of an authorized person?
So you have to deactivate your account first, and then you have to again re-register. But even when you deactivate your account the first time, if you don't have the password will go to the old person only. So that is why I mentioned in my PPT also, please, before your management changes, change the authorized person details in FLA return. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to get hold of that previous authorized person.
Understand.
We have faced this, Sumit, in many cases. So, therefore, it's important to once the management changes, it gets difficult to seek OTP from the previous individuals.
Yeah, of course. How to deactivate in case of dissolution of a company?
So you simply have to mail to the RBI on that survey email ID, and you can ask them to deactivate your account since the company has been dissolved.
Okay, Gaurav asks, is the concept of filing the Excel utility still there, or it's only Flare portal? I think it's only Flare portal, so Excel has been discontinued. FLA has
except in case of alternate investment funds, except in case of AIFs registered with SEBI, and for them also we need to specifically raise requests to RBI, and they'll share the Excel format. The old format will not be used, so they'll share the format on the email ID registered with them.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time when they digitize the AIF also, like they digitize the normal companies now, right?
And for AIF also, you have to register. You have to create an ID, then only they'll send you the Excel, otherwise they won't.
Right. FLA has variation report. If FLA is filed on provision financial basis, is it mandatory to revise the same on the basis of audited financials?
I think Chandan already captured it at the time of variation. So Chandan, would you like to speak?
So while the timelines are not prescribed, but it is mentioned that on the basis of audited, you need to file a revised return.
Right. But if there is no change, I would say, Chandan, if there is no change in the provision audited, then I think it's not required. But if there is any change, I think you should do it.
Yeah, even if it is a slight change, 0.01% variation, you should file that.
Yeah. We have received only, Amit says, we have received only share capital in December 21 from our overseas parent company. There is no further FDI or ODI from inception till date. Can you confirm whether we are required to file FLA or not? Yes, of course.
Yes, you have to.
Some questions even I will answer. Oh, okay. But Chandan and Sneha, you can surely correct me if I'm wrong. So Neha asks, hello ma'am, we have one, so it's an address to Sneha. She says, hello ma'am, we have one query with reference to repatriable shares. If the company shareholders are NRI or holding shares in repatriable form, does that company require to file FLA return?
Yes, since shares are on repatriable basis, the same is considered as foreign direct investment only. So your company is required to file FLA return.
Okay. If a private company receives a fund from their NRI shareholder from Indian bank to company's account, That's a query number 2. I think the query is not very clear. Okay, we'll skip that. How do we have to mention the authorized preference share capital? I think it's very straightforward, isn't it? Authorized is mentioned in the form itself.
Authorized is not required to be mentioned, only paid up is required to be mentioned.
Okay, so authorized is not required to be mentioned only. Okay. Where do we fill compulsory convertible debentures, Chandan?
So if these are participating, then we have to fill in the capital part. If these are non-participating, if it is with the related parties, it will come under the other capital. If it is with unrelated parties, it will be coming under the portfolio investment, under debt securities.
Madhukar asks, if we have not revised the return, what are the consequences?
So basically, though RBI advised to file the revised return, but they have not provided any penal provision in case the company does not file the revised return. So since LSF has now been introduced, this is still a question that whether RBI will penalize the company on the basis of changes not made to the RBI or not.
Right. Okay, now Bharti asks, they are a recently incorporated company in 2022 and they have not even yet filed the FCGPR, but they do have revenue and, of course, there are shareholders, foreign shareholders. Are they required to file FLA?
So if their share application money has been converted and the shares are allotted as on 31st March, even though you have not filed the FCGPR, you have to file it.
I think we've already answered. Individual holding foreign securities is not required to file FLA. Is it mandated to file the revised return with actual value, since we never knew about this option? Yes, I think if they, as we said, if there is a change, do file a revised return. What about the exemption of listed companies from filing?
So if they have investment only under portfolio investment scheme, they are not required to file. But if they have FDI also, they are required to file.
And is written what does count as an FDI? So whatever is a direct primary investment in the company from abroad, it's an FDI, right?
Under FDI scheme, you filed FCGPR, etc., or FCTRS, then you come under FDI.
Right. So explain the process. Dilip says to be followed in case of change in address and change in entity, like conversion from public to private. What is to be done?
So basically, it's the same. You first have to apply for deactivation, and then you have to again apply on the FLAIR portal by submitting your authority and verification letter along with the PAN card and filling the requisite details. And then you'll receive the user ID and the password on your email ID, which is then required to be reset.
Okay, Aarti asks whether investment of less than 10% in listed entity is considered as FPI, as the percentage of shareholding is less than 10%, and FLA return is not required to be filed by the company, or FLA return is required to be filed irrespective of the percentage. Chandan.
So as I mentioned earlier, if that less than 10% is under portfolio scheme, then it is not required to be filed. But if it is under FDI scheme, even listed companies can have investment under FDI also. If it is under FDI scheme, then the company is required to file.
I think, Chandan, it will be nice for you to elaborate again in case of listed companies, what will be an FDI and what will be an FPI. If you could articulate, I think this is the question coming from many people.
See, there are two scenarios. One is, the foreign investors or the non-resident investors can invest into India either through FDI scheme, wherein they directly invest into the company and the company allotted shares to them directly under FDI. FCGPR is filed and the valuation norms and all these conditions are fulfilled. So then it will be considered as FDI. If it is like a secondary market purchase, secondary market transaction, you have a demat account and you buy shares of an Indian entity, that will be considered under portfolio scheme. So if it is only under portfolio arrangement, then the company is not required to file unless if the company has ODI or does not have that. That's a separate thing. But with respect to FDI and portfolio, if it is only a foreign institutional investor, for example, have bought shares in your company under portfolio scheme and there is no FDI as such, they may have it in the FDI part also. For example, in case of startups getting listed, they already have a investment through private placement, preferential allotment, so they have FDI in the company, right? And they or any other institutional investors might also acquire in the secondary market, right? So if they already have it when they were unlisted under FDI, or even if the companies are listed but companies want to do it through private placement under FDI, then it becomes applicable. If it is only secondary market transaction under portfolio route through demat accounts, etc., QIBs, etc., then it is not required.
Understand. Kamal says, what is the meaning of participating preference share? This I think I'll only answer. Chandan has already answered that if the preference shares have share in the surplus of the company, then they are participating preference shares. If they are only entitled to the coupon rate dividend what they have and no other share either as a dividend over and above and neither at liquidation in the surplus of the company, they are non-participating preference shares. And if it's not mentioned in the term, they are non-participating. Okay, Sneha, what is the procedure for changing the registered email ID on flares?
Of authorized person?
Yes.
So basically, you have to deactivate an account only because RBI has linked the entity with the authorized person only. So email ID cannot be changed like that. You have to first deactivate and then register your entity with the new ID.
Okay, Sandeep asked, if majority of shares of a company are held by a foreign national individual, what should be selected here? We have been advised to use subsidiary of a foreign entity, but an individual holding shares doesn't make the company a subsidiary.
Right.
Correct. So if it is not a subsidiary per se, it cannot be considered as subsidiary. It has to be considered as others, or unless, if it is associate entities, so associate entities also define like 20% to 50% shareholding is there, then associate has to be mentioned. Otherwise, it will come under others part.
Yeah, Sandeep, I think you have not been advised properly. And for better advice, please contact Chandan and Sneha and Pahwa. Okay, Rahul Kesri, we haven't received any FDI during the year, but our company is a subsidiary of a foreign company. Whether we are required to file a FLA return on the current year? Yeah, if any foreign direct investment is outstanding, even if nothing has been received last year, FLA will have to be filed. In case of FCTRS, seller of the shares needs to file the FLA. No, only the company needs to file FLA, not the buyer. Yes. Whether it is required to file FLA pertaining to audited or unaudited, I think initially unaudited. If the audited are not ready by 15 July, and if there is any variation in the audited, then file on audited also. Okay, let me now, in the interest of time, it's 1:30, by the way. We will finish in the next 10-15 minutes. Although it's Q&A going on, there's a barrage of questions, still many more questions unanswered. It's our attempt to answer as many, and we stay committed. So I would say the people who have posted the questions for sure should stay back. We will probably take 10 to 15 more minutes to try to attempt to answer all the questions. People who have not posted the questions, even all the more reason for you to stay back, because you learn from other people's questions and the answers, and I hope you're enjoying. So in this interest, okay, I'll continue. Gaurav asked query on 12. If the technical foreign collaboration is with, say, Germany, will disclosure be required for a new business, say, in Italy? It's a very googly question, in my opinion. I didn't understand the question properly.
Didn't understand. Yeah.
Okay. So let's skip it. Gaurav, maybe you can connect with us offline, and we can look at the facts of the case in more detail. Anonymous, if my company got merged into another company last year, whether I need to file FLA for 22-23? This is a question for which company has been merged. Yeah.
So not required to file. In that case, the company in which your company gets merged is required to file, and therein it needs to just select, whether, see, the question there is a little confusing. It says whether your company is merged or amalgamated. However, when we say yes, it asks for the name of companies which got merged in your company, number of companies, and the names of companies. So your company gets merged into another company, you don't need to file, but it is advisable that you write an email to FLA team, survey FLA, telling them that your company has got merged and there is no requirement to file now, for record's sake.
We have made ODI in an overseas company and shares got allotted during the year. Do we need to file FLA? Of course, yes, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Do we need to mention redeemable preference shares under class of shares?
Yes, all the preference shares are required to be mentioned.
Also.
And you have to divide it whether it is participating or non-participating.
Okay, in case company's financial year is December, Jan to December, in such case, we have to file a return for December and also have to audit the March too.
We have to insert.
So we have to file.
Yes, Chandan, please.
Only on the basis, or as of 31st March, we have to file. Even if your accounts are audited as of December, the requirement is to file as of 31st March only. We need to have provisional financials on internal assessment basis.
Okay. Manoj asks, our amount was due in the previous financial year 22-23, but was received in this financial year 23-24. Do we need to file FLA return?
No, since there was no amount outstanding in the form of MDI or ODI as on 31st March, you do not need to file. You have to file it next year.
Yeah, but I'm just assuming that if the amounts were received as share application and hopefully the time of allotment did not cross, right? Otherwise, one has to go for compounding.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, very good question. Can we get an e-book of CLR? So currently, Corporate Law Referencer is available in print only, 2 volumes. We will soon thinking of coming up with an e-book also, but for the time being, go for the library edition. You know, the look and feel and the smell of the book, e-books cannot match that. So I think this can grace your library also. This is the 9th edition, and it's the commitment by eMinds Legal to publish yearly editions every April or May. So I think, and once you read this book, it's my guarantee that you cannot ever read any other book once you start reading this book. That's my guarantee. You can hold me to account, on that. Okay.
Right.
Do we update the downstream investments from Indian company, not from the overseas entity?
I did not get the question. So can you please repeat?
Means I got the question although. So if there is an FDI company in India and they make a downstream investment, does the downstream investment company also needs to file an FLA?
No, they do not have to, because we are only intimating RBI about the direct investment over here. So the first company which has received the direct FDI has to report the FLA, not the company which has received the downstream investment.
Okay. Sangeeta says how to file the revised return with audited figures on the FLAIR portal. There was no drop down being shown for revised return.
No, so on the FLAIR portal on the left hand side only, it gives you an option to request the RBI for filing the revised return. Once you select it and the financial year, then the portal will allow you to file the revised return.
Okay, one very honest and very good question by Meeta. What to do if there is a mistake in previous year's FLA section 2?
We need to file revised return in that case first.
So
then
revised return be filed even for previous years, Chandan?
Yes, it can
Yes,
be.
And it
No,
can
even
be
if
revised once, or can it be revised multiple times?
Multiple times, there is no restriction as of now, but it is always advisable not to revise, as many times.
Right.
You be sure of your figures and then you file the return.
Okay. Mudita says, let's say we have ODI in 2 companies, one entity in US based and its financials are audited on the basis of calendar year. Shall we insert the audited period December 31 or shall we ask them to do till March? In March is the answer. It is
March.
Yes. What about income tax expense, whether it will be covered under domestic purchases? Income tax.
So all the expenses which are covered in your PL10 account, including the income tax expenses, are to be covered in your, basically in the purchases, you have to enter about the expenses. So this is basically profit and loss before amounts only. So there you have to
but income tax is not an expense. I mean,
right.
On the expenses, on the profit, you pay income tax. So it is not a purchase in my opinion.
Basically, in section 2, you already mentioned profit before tax and profit after tax. So your income tax will get reflected over there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The number of employees should include no PAN company, including question not clear. Okay, we'll move ahead.
To clarify on that also, number of employee means employee on the payroll of the company.
Sorry, what's the question, Chandan?
So I was saying, just to clarify on that, number of employees means the employees on the payroll of the company. We need to mention that number.
Okay. Foreign company or FOCC company also have to file FLA?
No, they do not have to. FOCC companies are basically which has received the foreign investment in the basis of downstream investment.
Understand. Nikita asked YouTube channel where this webinar will be uploaded. So my team, if you could again mail in the chat box all the links. Please subscribe to YouTube. You can also go to Spotify, subscribe to the podcast. The podcast name is Compliance Talks with Sumit. And also subscribe to all our channels. We post different content on different channels, sometimes similar, sometimes different. It will be good to stay connected with you. We are holding regular monthly webinars as well. Do reach out to us. Do let us know which topics, etc. And thanks for coming in great attendance. Okay, we're continuing with the questions as a commitment. In case if the Ashiva asks, in case if the company is having continued and discontinued operations, the sales figure should be counting continuing or discontinuing operations.
Basically, it is to be on the basis of your 31st March data.
Yeah, whatever
amount is coming, you have to mention over there.
Yeah. In case of a listed company, what would be the best approach to analyze shareholding data given by RTA to ensure correct categorization in the FLA return? What will be the best approach to analyze shareholding data? I think you have to no option but to just see the segmentation, just see
shareholding pattern. Yeah, you have to consider the shareholding pattern. You also filed that data with the stock exchanges. So there are also categories you need to see those categories in the FLA part also and accordingly mention it.
Okay, Gaurav asked if one shareholder who was tracked in the last FLA return in 10% or more category, and now as on 31st March 23, he does not have any shares, all the holdings are been sold, then how such will be showed in the return?
So basically in less than 10%, you can mention for the previous year his percentage, and for the current year, you can mention 0.
Right. But if suppose there is no outstanding foreign investment, then I think they don't need to file the return now.
They don't need to file FLA at all.
Yeah. Assuming that was only foreign investment, I mean, just making up the fact, then they don't need to file the return. Okay. Is the company supposed to file FLA if there is no FDI last year but received FDI many years ago? Yes, if the FDI is outstanding, you need to file. In case of listed company, how to segregate between FDI and portfolio, that I think Chandan has very well articulated. Jital says, can we say that direct allotments are FDI and secondary market purchases are portfolio? Straight.
Yes.
But not in unlisted companies, because in unlisted companies, everything is for indirect investment, right?
Yeah, generally, in secondary, in case of unlisted companies, we talk about transfers, FCTRS, etc. Generally, secondary market word is not used. That is used in case of listed companies, stock exchange, etc. So I responded accordingly.
Muskan says, will CCPS be treated at par with participating preference shares? So no, Muskan, if it is mentioned participating, it is participating. If nothing is mentioned, then these are deemed to be non-participating preference shares. Gaurav says, being a first year of incorporation, an entity received FDI and allotment done before 31st March 23, but operation not started. Do we have to file nil return? No, it's not nil return. If you receive, if you have received an FDI, even if your business operations haven't started, those numbers have to be put in, right?
Sneha?
Yeah, the sales and purchase numbers could be 0.
Yeah.
Right? Purchases is generally not 0 because you anyways incur certain expenses that will be covered, but your sales number will be 0. Your in case of profit and loss, you'll mention your loss number there, but you need to fill in FLA with the foreign liabilities FDI part section 3.
Right. Whether subsidiaries which have been disinvested or liquidated on or before 31st March should be considered in FLA filing?
So disinvestments during the year we need to file, yes. But again, FLA triggers only if there is an outstanding balance as of 31st March. Otherwise, you have to anyways, if it is like subsidiary outside India, you have to intimate to RBI with respect to disinvestment separately under ODI regulations. If no, there is no outstanding balance as of 31st March, we don't need to file FLA. A simple intimation to the FLA email is required.
Right. Now, Dheeraj asks, is there any due date for a revised FLA after the audited financials?
No, presently the RBI has not provided any date. Previously, it was end of September.
Right. Lokesh asks, is the capex purchase or not? Capex is also capital expenditure is also considered in purchases, yes or no, Chandan?
Yes. I covered that in my slide.
Right. Okay. Then kindly explain the exemption available for issuance of securities on non-repatriable basis, and also what is non-repatriable basis rules. I think that's a very rules etc. is quite a long question, but I think non-repatriable basis we don't need to file FLAs, right? If there is only non-repatriable basis.
Because the main concept is yes. So basically, the main concept is you have to tell the figures to RBI on the basis of which the amount will go from India or will come in the basis of outstanding liabilities and assets. In case of non-repatriable basis, the person cannot take back the money outside for those shares. It is a domestic investment, and that is why FLA does not get triggered.
Yeah. We have purchased shares of the foreign company from a third party. We are holding the shares in physical form as on date. Do we need to file FLA, Anil Agarwal? Yes, you need to file.
If it is under ODI, then yes, we need to file FLA.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just skimming through a few questions. Is step down subsidiary required to file FLA? No, that's already been answered. Why do we need FCGPR and FCTRS? Only FLA is sufficient. Subareka, all forms are important. All forms have been prescribed. So FCGPR, TRS, FLA. If you don't file anything, all the late fees and penalties and everything will follow. So compliance is important. If you don't believe, try non-compliance. And that's what Complinity is all about. Driving compliance, not only in company law, corporate laws, FEMA, but even labor laws, environmental laws, industry-specific laws, hundreds of other laws which are there. That's what Complinity's job is. And we hold these webinars. One, of course, to bring important topics and important speakers and good audiences together to answer their queries. Also to drive home the point that this is all about compliance. I love to call myself as a compliance evangelist. So compliance is why we professionals exist. And I think let's advise our managements and our clients towards compliance to the T. And that's what, and raise the entire compliance standards of our companies and then the country.